Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch, and welcome today to a review of my latest pickup, and it's another digital micro. Here's hoping it gets on better than the last one, which got roasted then flipped. If you've been watching this channel for more than 10 minutes now, you know that I love digital watches. I grew up on digital watches and I have not grown out of digital watches. And I have bought or borrowed and reviewed literally hundreds of them over the years. Most of them have had one thing in common though. Perhaps you already spotted what it is. Digital watches by micro brands are therefore real outliers in this space. It's an area where few micros dare to tread, and the ones that do don't always get it right, as noted. Have Singaporean micro RZE got it right? That's the question today. They released their UDT8000 earlier on this year. I almost bought one on the pre-order, but I didn't. However, I managed to pick one up lightly used from a seller I know here in Australia. Do you know what? It's really nice, but can it surmount the one big problem that faces every single watch like it? Let's flip the camera and find out. Alright, let's get into it. A little bit of damage on the box here. I believe this one has been through a couple of owners before me. I see it has been flipped a couple of times since it arrived here in Australia not that long ago. RZE, assembled for adventure. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how you do a tagline. If only they had stopped there. Day one or one day, your best moments are on the other side of your fears, so put on your gear and let's get moving. Whatever. Assembled for adventure. Anyway, inside the outer box is an inner box, and this box is a special box. Now these start from 385 Australian dollars. That is the one without the bracelet and without the fancy packaging. If you want the fancy packaging, you're paying $430, so you're paying an extra $45 for the box. Yes, I'm glad they made it optional. Look, it's really nice, but I think for most people, a watch box is 10 seconds of amusement and then it gets put into a cupboard. If you're the type of person who has got figurines and shelves full of models, etc., and you love this stuff and you'll put it on show, then by all means pay the extra. But I think for most people, the standard eco packaging, as they call it, would be fine. Now perhaps you already noticed, I bought the negative display version. I will not be complaining about the display in the moans and niggles section because I bought it. I didn't have to, other options are available. Indeed, 3 other options are available: a positive display with a yellow background, a positive display kind of standard, and the negative one in the middle. Look, it's a pretty good negative display. The numerals are large, but if legibility is a primary concern for you, then perhaps go with one of the other 2. I gotta say though, I really like the way this looks. RZE have been making watches for 5 or 6 years now. Titanium with ultra hex coating are both specialties of theirs, and I think they got this one spot on. It looks kind of tooly and purposeful. There's a little bit of colour here and there, but it doesn't look kitsch, it doesn't look overcooked in any way, shape or form. Dimensions are also kind of tooly and capable. 43mm in diameter, 13.9mm thick, which is pretty thick. You would expect 14mm out of a automatic mechanical, not quite a quartz digital. 48.5 lug to lug though, drilled lugs. 20mm lug width, as supplied on this very thin and light Velcro band. It weighs 57 grams, it has 200 meters of water resistance, sapphire crystal covering the dial, and let's call it an unspecified digital movement. They refer to it as a UTD8000, which is the name of the watch, but that's not really much of a clue for me, I'm afraid. No clues on the beefy case back either. Look at that thing. That is really thick and chunky. They do tell you that it's a CR2032 battery, little hex screws, 4 corners there. Just pop that off every 3 years when the battery dies and replace it yourself. The whole thing about this watch is that it's meant to be rugged, it's meant to be tough, it's meant to be reliable, and they have a kind of lifetime warranty on it as well. Well, the brand says it is guaranteed for life anyway. Plus, this watch is part of their trade-in program. I have never heard of a micro brand offering a trade-in program before, but there you go. They also say this module is shock resistant and resistant to low temperatures, having tested it in Canada. Perhaps useful there, not so much useful down here. Yeah, it's a good looking case. That is their Ultra Hex, their proprietary Ultra Hex coating on top of titanium there, helping it resist scratches. Titanium, you get the lightweight, but sometimes you get a more scratch prone watch, but not in this case. Drilled lugs, a nice selection of angles, again adding to that kind of purposeful tooly look. I've got to say though, the UDT8000 module, or whatever it actually is, doesn't do an awful lot. You do have 3 lines of LCDs permanently on display, the day of the week, the time, either in 12 or 24 hour format, nice big numerals there, and that is the month of the year and the date of the month. If you press the mode button in the bottom left, stopwatch. Now, start, stop, reset. You can do laps, and then catch up from where you left off, and then stop and reset, but that's it, just 1 lap is recordable. Press the mode a couple of times and you're into a single alarm. Again, that's the alarm, that is an hourly chime. You can set the alarm using this button down in the corner, and when you're done, press it again, and that's it. Third mode is a time set. That's it. No countdown timers, no world time, nothing really much at all. Just a single alarm and a stopwatch with single lap capabilities. You do get a really nice electroluminescent backlight on it though by pressing the button on the top left corner. Again, all 3 lines clearly visible after dark. Looks good on wrist too, I reckon. Again, chunky and purposeful with that matte grey finish, but with just enough colour on the dial to make it interesting. Now, RZE pitched this one as part of their field watch range. They refer to it as a field watch. It's kind of that assembled for adventure, outdoorsy vibe. As such, you probably wouldn't want it to be much smaller than this, that kind of 43mm diameter dimension, but because it's titanium and because it's on this band that weighs absolutely nothing, it's still really comfortable. Now, overhead, on an angle, at a glance, legibility. As I said, I'm not going to complain about the negative display because I bought it knowing that it had a negative display. So if legibility is a concern for you, then by all means buy the other one. It should be a lot clearer and easier to read than this one. So if I'm not going to complain about the negative display, what am I going to complain about today then? Well, the supplied canvas and Velcro strap is very light and very comfortable, but it feels slightly undercooked at 20mm for a 43mm watch head. I reckon if it was only sold on this canvas and Velcro strap, 22mm would have been a better choice here. Give it a bit more confidence and surety on wrist as well. Now, you can actually specify a matching titanium bracelet with this watch, but it's 295 Australian dollars extra. Or if you want a rubber strap, it's 125 Aussie dollars extra for a rubber strap. At EREBUS, we sell a 3-strap pack, including silicone, FKM rubber and NATO, for 55 Australian dollars. Indeed, here is the watch on one of the 3 straps, the FKM rubber. I think if you are going to deviate away from the Velcro canvas number, then something that adds a little bit of bulk is not a bad idea at all. Good value if you just want the basic watch with the canvas strap. Once you start adding the accessories though, the value equation becomes a little less convincing. And then of course there's this watch's biggest problem, and any micro-brand digital watch's biggest problem, Casio. If you want a tough and rugged field watch with a digital display, Casio have been all over this style of watch for decades, and they do it arguably better and cheaper than anybody else. You can get Pro Treks, you can get World Timers, you can get full metal Casios now as well for not much more money than RZE are charging for this one. I appreciate that RZE do give you sapphire crystal, which you simply don't get on any of the Casios that I've shown you so far. But if you're a small company selling a digital watch, this is your benchmark. This is who everybody is going to compare you against. I think the RZE stacks up very well in some areas, but not quite as well in others. Which is why so few brands decide to do that, why so few brands go head to head against Casio in their own playground. One exception though is Far and Swit with their Mixtape series, a fun, colourful and quirky digital watch that's priced like a Casio. They have sold a bucket load of these, and no wonder.
Look, I think the RZE UDT8000, to give it its full title, does really well in certain areas. I love the looks of it. There's a little bit of colour here and there, nice big numerals, nice easy to read, particularly in the positive display versions, and I love the fact that it's sapphire crystal. Value not too bad if you opt for it on the basic canvas and Velcro band as well, but you're really going to have to be into the brand, or you're really going to have to be into digital watches to even consider this one over a Casio.
So there you have it. If you are a fan of the brand, or you're a fan of good quality digital watches full stop, then you will probably be a fan of this one. Great styling, great build quality, but Casio, G-Shock, a spectre that will continue to haunt watches just like this until the end of time. On that note, why not check out a couple of reviews of my favourites here or here. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you over there.